Welcome back. Okay, the next subject we're going to talk about is probably going to be the hardest for us men to believe, but over the years, I've seen that it's so true. When we were first brainstorming topics for the book, Shaunti said, "What about security?" And I said, "Nah, most guys have probably heard that women want security."
So I said, what do you think they mean by security?
I said, "Well, it means she knows the mortgage is getting paid and that we're putting money away for retirement and all those things."
So primarily financial, right?
And I'm like, "Yeah, what else is there?"
And I said, well, financial security is important, but it's not nearly as important as emotional security.
To which I said, "What's emotional security?" Guys would never put those two words together.
So I said, emotional security basically means that I know you're always going to be there for me and we're always going to be close. That's so much more important than anything you could provide.
And I thought she was just weird. I said, "That can't possibly be true for most women," but she insisted it was. So we tested it on the survey, and what did we find?
We found that if women had to make a choice, they would actually choose to give up financial security if that was what it took to get more of him. The survey question was essentially, if you had to make a choice that you wouldn't want to have to make, but if you had to, would you rather choose to endure financial insecurity and hardship, or would you rather choose to endure an insecurity arising out of a lack of love or closeness in the relationship? And 70% of the married women said, if I have to, I will endure the financial hardship. Just don't make me endure a lack of closeness and insecurity with you.
I was stunned, but I still thought they were given the politically correct answer, and there was no way they really meant it. One guy in a marriage conference said, "Oh, sure, they say that when things are going okay, but let's just see what they say once things go south for a while." But then we looked at the demographics, and the women that identified themselves as being in the most desperate situation financially were even more likely to say they preferred closeness and emotional security.
One woman put it so well. They had previously been well off, but their family business had taken a serious downturn and had been defaulting on all their bills. They were truly desperate. And she said she absolutely would take financial hardship over a lack of closeness. She said, we could have plenty of money stored away and be very secure financially. But if I'm not secure about whether I'm a priority for my husband, all that money doesn't mean much. But if I know he's there for me, I can face any of these struggles financially.
In part one of this session, Shaunti was telling the women about our desire to be the provider. It's how we're wired. But I'm thinking that providing, I have to work those 70-hour weeks. Or it means taking this job that maybe I don't like, but it makes more money than this other job that I'd like a lot more. So I'm gutting it out because I want to show her that I love her. But actually, according to the surveys, most women are asking for something a lot different. This won't apply to every woman, but most said, "I'd be willing to change our lifestyle and drive a cheaper car or take a cheaper vacation if you had another job that would allow you to go to Johnny's soccer games, a job that was more family friendly, one that lit you up, that you loved to do and would make you fulfilled."
Since we know you want the time with the family too, guys.
Exactly. But for us guys, we don't even think to ask, would you be willing to take some trade-offs? Because we just assume that women want the stuff. So, if women are willing to make some trade-offs and they need emotional security most of all, how do we provide that type of security? It involves several things, but let's just tackle a few of them here. First, it's what we just talked about, you being present and available to the family and actually happy in your job, if at all possible, since every woman we talked to recognized how important that was. Second is to do what we talked about in session 2, which is regularly providing that sense of assurance of your love. Both to do the things that say, "I would choose you all over again," but also to reassure her once her insecurity is triggered.
You know, guys, one absolutely vital way to do that comes during times of conflict. When your wife or your girlfriend is upset, you want to give her space. You feel like that's the honorable thing to do, or at least the safe thing to do. But in most cases, when she's upset, she doesn't need space. She needs a hug.
We shared that in one of our marriage conferences, and a man yelled out from the audience, "You mean hug the porcupine?"
And everyone laughed, but yes, the key is to realize that she seems like a porcupine, but she really isn't. I know this takes courage, but in most cases, if you move towards her to give her a hug, you'll see those quills just melt, and you'll go, wow, this works.
A third way to provide emotional security is to build a sense of day-to-day closeness between you. And one really simple way to do that is just listening to her. Now we're going to take a few minutes to tell you what that looks like to a woman, because listening in a way she'll feel listened to is one of the most important ways to make a woman feel loved and secure and close to you.
We often ask questions on my Facebook page, and just a few days ago we asked, what makes you feel close to your husband? And it was interesting to see that about half of the comments focused on listening. One woman answered that what makes her feel close to him is when it's just us talking and he is totally focused on me and I on him. It could be about the weather, but I melt when he watches me and I have all of his attention.
Now the thing is, we know they need us to listen, because every guy has heard, you're not listening to me, even after we've been listening for 10 minutes. Or we've heard, she doesn't want you to fix it, she just wants you to listen. But what does that mean? Our whole marriage, I had heard that, and I thought it meant, okay, when Shaunti needs to talk, I'll let her talk until she's all out of words. I won't interrupt. And when she's done, I'll fix it. Turns out listening means something different.
See, guys, you don't have to become something other than what you are. You don't have to suddenly become her best girlfriend. And God made you to be a Mr. Fix-It. But to listen in a way she'll feel listened to, you have to do a step 1 and a step 2. And step 2 is when you get to put on your Mr. Fix-It hat. But you have to do step 1 first. See, your whole lives, you've trained yourselves that, for example, when your girlfriend or your wife comes to you all upset because her friend said something hurtful in front of some folks at church, you know that all those jangling emotions will get in the way of you thinking clearly and helping her with the problem. So you've learned to filter out all those jangling feelings in order to focus in on the problem. But what you don't realize is that all those jangling feelings are what she most wants you to listen to. So step 1 of being a good listener may feel really weird at first, and that is to filter out the problem for a minute and focus in on her feelings. Say, I'm so sorry, honey. When that happened, were you embarrassed? How did you feel then? Literally, ignore the problem and try to pull out all those feelings. And then she'll feel heard. And then she'll be much more able to move to step 2, which is to sit down together and figure out what to do about a solution if necessary.
And when you think about it, guys, she can figure out a solution on her own if she has to, but she can't feel listened to on her own. The key is to listen to her feelings, worries, her hurts, her excitement, her fear. And listening in that way truly does help solve the problem, the real problem, because you're helping her work through all those jangling emotions, and that's what makes her feel really heard. The women told me this really is a secret weapon for a guy to build a great sense of closeness between them. And a final point, what builds emotional security is that trying to provide some sense of financial security is still a part. But for all of us guys who want to provide for our family, the key is to realize that providing means far more than just financial security, and to realize that for most women, the most important thing you can provide is more closeness with you.